Hello, everybody. Welcome to Bird Notice. Billy here. Johan Ramirez is claimed off waivers by the New York Mets. David Rubenstein hangs out in the bird bath. And Austin Hayes does some rehab with the Bowie Bay Sox. But Ryan, what episode number is this?
This is episode number 43, which was won by Sidney Ponson in his 8 years as an Oriole. Ponson signed with the O's as an amateur free agent out of Aruba in 1993 at the age of 16. He debuted with the O's in 1998, finishing 5th in AL Rookie of the Year voting, despite a 5.27 ERA and 1.47 WHIP. Ponson was an Oriole until being traded at the 2003 deadline to the Giants for Ryan Hanneman, Kurt Ainsworth, and Damian Moss, none of whom contributed anything good at all for the O's. Ponson had a 3.71 ERA down the stretch for San Francisco and made one bad start in the NLDS before signing with the O's again. Ponson's second stint in Baltimore was not good, pitching to an ERA plus of 86 in 2004 and 70 in 2005, before the O's voided his contract in September after his second DUI that year. The MLBPA later filed a grievance, and the Orioles settled it in 2009 by paying Ponson the remainder. He would go on to sign free agent deals with the Cardinals, Yankees, Twins, Rangers, and Royals, where he finished his major league career in 2009 at the age of 32. Ponson spent 8 of his 12 seasons as an Oriole, going 73-85 with a 4.86 ERA over 1,375 innings with Baltimore. He is perhaps best known for being knighted in the Order of Orange Nassau, which is a Dutch thing since Aruba is within the Kingdom of the Netherlands. Despite being knighted, Ponson would later assault an Aruban judge in an incident resulting from a complaint about how Ponson was driving his boat, spending 11 days in jail. Do you have a 43 that's a little less controversial?
I like that. That's great.
I had to put it in. I couldn't not mention that.
Oh, yeah. So Kurt Ainsworth rang a bell. He was a first-round pick by the Giants. He was exceptionally bad. In 7 starts with Baltimore, 10 appearances, his ERA was 9.82.
Yeah, I looked up him and Moss. Hanneman never made the majors, but Ainsworth and Moss were brutal.
Ponson re-signing after being traded. That was like the first time I remember seeing that. It was like, oh, that's brilliant. You can trade a guy and just re-sign him afterwards.
It bothered me for way too long how the Yankees traded Aroldis Chapman to the Cubs and got Gleyber Torres and then just re-signed him in the offseason.
Yeah, they still got Torres too.
Yeah.
So yeah, I got number 43 is Scott Moore. There were some tough choices here for sure, but one stood out to me from all the rest. I've said on here many times that I became a fan in 2007. I'm honestly the only Orioles fan that you'll find that is nostalgic for the 2007 season. And in 2007, Scott Moore wore 3 different numbers for the Orioles. In addition to 43, he also wore number 9 and number 40. Moore was an 8th overall draft choice by the Tigers in 2002 out of Cypress High School in California. Detroit traded him to the Cubs in February 2005 in a deal for reliever Kyle Farnsworth. He made his major league debut in September 2006 for the Cubs. On August 31st, 2007, he was traded by the Cubs with Rocky Cherry for pitcher Steve Traxel. He spent parts of 3 seasons bouncing between the Tides and Baltimore. He only appeared in 62 total games with the O's, batting .220 with a .266 on-base percentage, 5 home runs, and 22 RBI, while appearing in games at first, second, and third base. The final spot on the 2008 opening day roster came down to Scott Moore and Jay Gibbons, who had recently failed a drug test, and Gibbons was released. Moore was designated for assignment on July 23, 2010 to make room for Brian Roberts, who was returning from an abdominal strain after an extended stint on the disabled list. Moore would sign with the Cubs for 2011, but never made it out of Iowa. He signed with the Astros for 2012, where he'd make his last major league appearances. And he finished up his run in 2015 after time in the minor leagues with Oakland, San Diego, and St. Louis.
I think I'd be lying if I said I remembered the name Scott Moore. I don't know a thing about that guy.
Yeah, I remember Andy MacPhail was in town. It was like in the news and the pilot at the time. Andy MacPhail comes to visit the Tides. And Scott Moore went on a tear for that like 3-game stretch Andy McPhail was in town, and he got promoted. And in the paper, I guess the Tides beat writer asked him about the promotion, and he was like, "Yeah, he picked a good time to get hot."
Right. That is a good time.
I
Now,
tried finding the article. I couldn't find it, but I do remember that happening.
did you say he wore 3 different numbers in the same season?
I think I screwed that up. 3 different numbers during his run with the Orioles. But I
Okay.
did say 3 different numbers in the same season. I just
All right.
plowed through it.
I was gonna ask how that might have happened, if he was like gradually working his way down from 43 to a normal number, or how that.
Yeah, I don't know what order he wore these in, but I definitely screwed that up. And then I didn't want to reset.
No,
and
it's
do it
fine.
again.
I was curious if that was a thing. That would have been funny.
That would have been impressive.
Right.
I do remember Brian Roberts rehabbing with the Tides. I also remember that. And, I wouldn't have put that together that cost Scott Moore his job with the Orioles at the time. But I remember being very excited to see Brian Roberts in Norfolk.
Yeah, if I recall correctly, he was one of the last actual good players for the Orioles to play for Rochester during their affiliation. There were some lean years at the end with the O's not having many good prospects, but he was one who actually played there for a little bit.
Ooh, so he might be on the all-time Red Wings team in the off season.
Possible. I don't think he was like amazing in Rochester, but just as far as like an actual good major league player eventually, he was somebody who represented the O's at the end of their tenure there.
He might be one of the only guys that could be eligible for both teams. So that might move him up the selection board if he's an all-time Tide or all-time Red Wing.
That's true. I guess it depends if you're judging on the minor league stats or how they did in the majors.
Yeah, I figure rehab stints should count just because, we're trying to have fun here.
Right. I mean, we picked guys like Vlad Guerrero and Jim Thome in our any Oriole ever draft, so why not?
Tim Raines with his 3 career games.
Yeah, he was one of my only good players in that simulation.
Yeah, there's some topics here. We don't have very many, so we won't waste too much time. I want to applaud you for taking a bold stance on our Twitter account when you posted the swords to the throat meme of and you said, when it comes to throwing out base stealers, Adley is mid at best.
It's true. I made sure to look up the numbers too, because watching the games, it didn't seem like he's great, and I had to make sure that I could back it up with facts. And he's really not very good overall in throwing batters out. And some people talked about Orioles pitchers being slow and all that, but then you look at his pop time, and it's also like bottom third in the majors. So I think he just doesn't get it out of his glove quick enough, and his throws don't seem that accurate, but I couldn't find a measurement of that.
I want to say I agree with you on this stance. You're not alone here. I feel like we are alone as a people, though, because a lot of people are making excuses for him.
I think part of being a fan is being able to be realistic. Like, I love everything about Adley, but you can't pretend that certain things couldn't be improved.
I like Craig Kimbrel. I can't pretend that he's didn't shit the bed the last 2 weeks.
Right.
Yeah, I can't remember if we talked about this in detail or not last season, but I do remember being surprised at how much better McCann was at throwing out base runners than Adley.
Right. Speaking of McCann, he didn't have a great defensive game today, but I don't think any of those involved throwing out base stealers. It was just kind of between dropping balls and missing the throw home and a couple pass balls, or maybe they called wild pitches on him. I don't know. But yeah, I think McCann is decidedly better at throwing out base stealers, which is arguably not a huge part of the game, but it's something.
I am a little worried about what's going to happen with the backup catcher spot after the season, because I don't know if they'll bring McCann back or not. I also don't know what kind of contract he'll command. He's overpaid now, but it doesn't matter because the Mets are paying it's something silly, like $9 million.
Right.
And yeah, there's no way the Orioles are going to bring him back at even half that price.
Yeah, you never know. I mean, there's a good chance McCann realizes that and wants to stick around. I guess there's also a chance somebody else wants to pay him more and he goes there, or there's probably plenty of backup catchers around the league that I'm not aware of that are going to be available in the offseason too.
That's the thing, though. There were so many bad catchers before Adley that, McCann might want to start again, too. He didn't really have much of a choice in coming to the Orioles.
Right. No, I mean, I was thinking today too, for a guy who plays like every third or fourth game, already as a catcher, you're not expecting much offensively. Like, he's a pretty solid backup.
Yeah, without a doubt. They gave him some DH time last year too.
Yeah, he seems to have a decent ability to get hits in the clutch. It's also something I could probably look up, but haven't, so don't quote me on that. But
he's the architect behind the new Dong Bong too.
That's true. He went on Amazon, I guess, and got that thing.
I found it on there.
Yeah, isn't it like it's like close to $100, isn't it?
Yeah.
Not that matters to James McCann, but
Right.
I wouldn't buy something like that for $100.
Yeah, I feel like though if you're blaming 13 pitchers, some of that has to fall on the catcher. Like where's the line with what pitchers are willing to blame for Adley's? The teams. It also seems like the teams aren't afraid to run on Adley too, which is a problem.
Right. And against a team like the Nationals, who were pretty aggressive, it was even more obvious because, it's those lesser teams, I think, that are going to be stealing more bases because they don't have much to lose.
Yeah, the Angels gave the Orioles fit in their first series.
Right. That's a good point.
Where is that meme from? Did you make it?
Yeah, I had seen that meme before. My kids actually watch Tangled a lot, so I've recognized it when I've seen it online. So I just did a quick Google search, and you can put text over just about anything.
Yeah, it's a good meme. We'll see if it catches on.
Probably not.
And then we got to pour one out for Johan Ramirez. He was officially claimed by the Mets, who was the team that sold his contract to the Orioles to begin with.
Yeah, I don't know. What are your thoughts on that?
I wanted to see him go to the Tides. I'm not surprised somebody claimed him. Just because relief pitchers, everybody's always looking for one. If you can get one for free, why not? But this did make me wonder if the Mets are just sending players to the Orioles to further their development.
Right. That reminds me to look up Fujinami and see how he's doing right now. And the overall numbers are bad. I'm not sure what the last time he pitched is. No, it's saying, has he not pitched for the Mets this year?
No, he's in Syracuse.
Oh, geez. I don't think I realized he wasn't even in the majors.
I thought you knew that. I thought you were looking at his Syracuse stuff. I heard he's doing pretty bad.
Yeah, let's see. Oh, God. It's exceptionally bad. He's got a 14.09 ERA and 7 2/3 with 17 walks and 9 strikeouts.
Who did the Tides play this week?
That's way worse than how he did as an Oriole.
Yeah, I don't know how he got worse. I would have thought the offseason would have helped him out. Because a bunch of Fujinami truthers like me wanted to see him with a full offseason like in the Orioles program and spring training, but I don't know. Maybe he's just not cut out for the major leagues.
He might not. I mean, I guess in that case, give him credit for coming over here and getting a couple contracts, but yeah, it does not appear to be working out for him right now.
I'm off this week, and the Tides have a homestand, so I was hoping they were playing Syracuse, but they're playing Lehigh Valley.
Okay. Are they the Iron Pigs?
Yeah, the Iron Pigs.
Is that Philly?
Yep, Philly, yeah.
Okay. I was just thinking geographically, that makes the most sense.
I believe it's outside of Allentown, Pennsylvania.
Yeah, I had a friend who went to Lehigh University, and I know it's in that region. I think Lehigh University's in Bethlehem, Pennsylvania.
Okay, yeah. My sister-in-law actually used to live in Bethlehem.
There you go.
The Iron Pigs were like their local team.
Mm-hmm.
So Brandon Hyde mentioned that a 6-man rotation is possible with the returning Grayson Rodriguez. I think this is the only option for now. How about you? What do you think?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, until the last 2 days with Means and Kramer struggling a little, they had such a great run that none of them deserved to be booted out of the rotation. A lot of people were talking about maybe Irvin getting moved to the bullpen, but I don't think there's no chance you can do that now.
No, he's might be the last person I want to see taken out of rotation at this point.
I mean, I wouldn't say the last, but I'd say
you know
the
what
last
I mean,
would
though?
be like Corbin Burns, but
yeah, but
of actual legitimate options, I see what you're saying. Yes.
Yeah, just like how far he's moving up, like the starting pitching rankings. Like like Burns is where he started, but Irvin went from like pre-news of Means and Bradish's injuries. Like Irvin was your seventh starter, and like he might be the second now.
Yeah, he's been very good. He's been what you and I were thinking he could be last year. So it's took a bit, but it's great to see him living up to that.
Plus, word on the street is there's only one off day in June, so a 6-man rotation would be perfect. And like we've been saying, that shit'll sort itself out.
Right. And especially with Bradish and Means coming back, and you can't expect Means to go 7 innings every time like he did in his first start. So I think that makes sense. The only downside to that would be you're taxing your bullpen a little more, but I don't know how else you would control that.
Yeah, I think the only way to brace for that would be to expect some longer outings from Suarez and maybe even Bauman.
True. Yeah, that's a good point. Bauman had a good outing yesterday, and Suarez kind of did the same a day or two before.
Even if Suarez is bad, you can just keep rolling him out there, like in, just eat some innings.
Right.
Because I still don't know what to expect from him. Like I like watching him, but I don't know if I trust him.
I do for now, especially if he's in a long relief role and you need a few innings, why not?
Yeah, eat him up. And Austin Hayes, he's been rehabbing in Bowie. Things have been going pretty well. 5 games, 14 at bats after Sunday's game. He's hitting .357, 2 home runs, 3 RBI, 3 walks, 5 runs scored. His OPS is over 1,300. What do you think happens when he returns? I'd have to assume he's back. He could be back by tomorrow morning.
I think McKenna's got to be gone when Hayes comes back. What do you think?
My guess is Kjerstad. He has options. Brandon Hyde obviously doesn't trust him. I feel like they gave him that start in left field yesterday just to be like, here's your chance. Let's see what you got. I don't want anybody to say you didn't get a chance. So you can play left field.
He did all right in the field. He just hasn't been hitting.
Yeah, that's another problem. But yeah, he had that nice diving catch. That ball before that where he like ran into the wall almost, like halfway up. Kowser had a similar play. You don't realize how good Austin Hayes is in left field until you see other guys out there just flopping around like fish.
Yeah. Kjerstad made that one look difficult, which it probably was, but it did look like he was kind of unsure of himself.
That left fielder, Gurriel, for the Diamondbacks, he had a weird-ass catch in deep left field early in the game last night.
Yeah. That reminded me of a receiver who like gets underthrown and he has to turn around and go up for the ball.
Yeah, it looked like he thought the wall was coming and he was nowhere near it.
Right.
Yeah, so you're saying McKenna. I'm going to say Kjerstad. I think
your point about Kjerstad is very valid. I was thinking more of a similar playing type, but I think you're probably right. It probably will be Kjerstad.
Because Kjerstad needs at-bats too. And, I know everyone says you can sneak McKenna through waivers, but you can't guarantee that.
And we have talked about how there's too many lefties, so that would be a way to solve that a little bit.
Yeah, there's no way you're going to be able to play Mullins, Kowser, and Kjerstad with Hayes returning.
Right.
Yeah, that's a good point. I think Hayes is going to be playing a lot more when he returns than he was pre-injury, because there's no way he's going to struggle that badly again. And Mullins has fallen off a cliff, and Kowser's been struggling pretty bad too.
Yeah, I mean, this was the second day in a row that Mullins wasn't starting, and there's no public info, at least, about him being injured or anything. Yeah. I did see an article from the Baltimore Banner a week ago, and the headline is, Cedric Mullins is no longer in pain, and it's showing in his performance. And I was kind of like, I don't know if I agree with that. And like, in the last week, he's gotten even worse.
Yeah, I can't say I'm totally surprised that he's, looking a little washed. It sucks, but it just felt like this was trending this direction last season after his injuries. And then, he is pushing 30. He's small.
Mm-hmm.
It's just a recipe for declining performance. And now he's got all kinds of young players nipping at his heels.
Right, and they were talking when Trout got hurt a couple weeks ago that how center field really takes it out of you. It beats you up, and I think Mullins is another example. He's just not Mike Trout, so people don't talk about it in the national media.
Yeah, he puts his ass on the line for any ball within like a 10-foot radius of him. He's diving for it.
Right.
Yeah, that's all I
Yeah, it's
got
more
on.
of like an appreciation of what he does and acknowledging that it's taken a toll on him.
So, yeah, let's get into Dong Notice. We got our Dong Notice League. It's a home run competition between Team Billy and Team Ryan.
Yeah, we are very close. According to the stats, we each hit 2 home runs today, which keeps us within 1 of each other. That puts you at 61 and me at 60 so far. I think my biggest highlight is Spencer Torkelson finally hitting his first home run of the year today on May 12th.
Oh, I have 59 to 58.
Yeah, but we both hit 2 today, so it doesn't update until the next day, I think.
Ah, why'd they do that?
Either way, it's within 1.
So I got 9 from Judge, 2 from Robert, who's been injured. I don't know if he'll play again this season, to be honest. Schwarber has 9. Odolis Garcia has 8. Mookie Betts has 6. He's been at 6 for a while now.
Yeah, he started hot. He was leading the league in like everything for a bit.
I have 2 from Arenado, and then my 4 Orioles are Westburg, Santander, Rutschman, and O'Hearn, and they have combined for 23.
Yeah, my O's have 24 total. My other best ones are Otani and Soto.
Half of yours are from Gunnar alone.
Seems like it.
Half of your Oriole total.
Oh, yeah, that is true.
That's crazy. Mullins has 6.
Right, we were just talking about how he's been bad.
That's really all he's done, though.
Yeah. Yeah, it should
Couple
be
nice-
interesting. I like that it's close, though.
Kursat has 0 for you, and you finally got one from Torkelson.
Yeah, what a bum.
That's inexcusable for the former number 1 draft pick who was supposed to be known for his bat to be going into, 2 weeks away from Memorial Day. He has 1 home run.
Right, and I mean, he's 24, so he's not super young. He hit 31 homers last year. Hopefully it's a sign that he's going to start hitting a lot.
All right, so you ready to do some game recaps? You got a Nationals preview?
Yeah, I got a brief one. The Nationals were about league average in both runs scored and runs allowed and entered the series with a 17-17 record. So they were about as average as it gets. Now, this is a guy who the O's didn't face, but one of my favorite stories in baseball is the demise of Patrick Corbin. He signed a 6-year, $140 million deal with the Nats before the 2019 season. They won the World Series in the first year of his deal, which is great, of course, but he's been horrific since then, going 27-60 with a 5.76 ERA and a 1.56 WHIP, leading the league in losses each season from 2021 to 2023, while making an average of $23.3 million per season. So props to him for making a ton of money to be absolutely terrible.
Do you think he'll get cut? He's in the last year of his deal, so this is when you would get cut if they wanted to do it. It's surprising they haven't done it yet.
Yeah, you would think so. I don't know. The Nats aren't as bad as I thought they would be, but it's not like they're going anywhere.
How many years were left on Bumgarner's deal when he got cut by the Diamondbacks? There was definitely more than 1, I think.
I have no idea.
Probably 1.5. I remember some Orioles fans were like, "Oh, the Orioles should sign Bumgarner."
Man, I mean, there are plenty of guys who make a lot of money off their past, so I guess I could see some people saying that, but I didn't want that.
I muted the word extensions from our Twitter account. I hope that doesn't upset you. I can't deal with it anymore. I'm also to the point, too, where, like, obviously I want to see Gunnar and Adley get signed to extensions, but also, like, you do not know how those deals are going to age. And more often than not, they age poorly. So, like, you really don't know if you want an extension signed or not by somebody. You know what I mean? Like, look at Patrick Corbin.
Right. I think the deal that Bobby Witt signed is going to be a good model for those guys, where he's there for I think 6 or 7 years before he has an opt-out. So if he starts to suck, then he can just stick around. But if not, he'll leave. But one thing I'll say is, even though Rubenstein seems like a good dude and he's having a lot of fun we have no idea how he's going to be when it comes to spending money. And that's something we need to keep in mind. Like,
Yeah.
owners can be cool until it comes time to actually make decisions. And he hasn't had to make any yet. So we don't know.
Yeah. And then, like, Bryce Harper, he signed his 13-year deal. He put no opt-outs in it because he said he didn't really want to be distracted, I think, by opt-outs. But now that he's out playing the deal, him and Boris want to rip the contract up. So, like, even if you do give someone an extension, if they underachieve, you're stuck with it. And if they overachieve, they're going to want to rip it up anyway and cause a different set of problems.
Yeah.
I hope the Phillies stand firm and just do not pay him. I would say I don't negotiate with terrorists. That's what I would tell Scott Boras.
Right. I mean, what's his recourse there? Would they just, if they said you're still under contract, we're not doing that, would he just sit out until they trade him or something? I have no idea.
Yeah, that doesn't happen too much in baseball. This isn't football or basketball, so good luck with that.
Right. It's not our problem, I guess.
No, good point. But yeah, so game 1 is Tuesday. It's actually game 37, game 1 of the series. May 7th, Corbin Burns versus Trevor Williams. Trevor Williams is a free agent after this season. He's doing very well.
Yeah, that guy. All right, well, I have it written down. He was 6-10 with a 5.55 ERA in 2023, and he allowed the most home runs in the National League. And after this game, he was 4-0 with a 1.96 ERA.
He could be traded at the deadline.
Sounds reasonable if he keeps it up.
So we go to the bottom of the second. Jesse Winker singles. He steals second, and he's brought in by Joey Meneses, so it's 1-0 Nats. I have a Jesse Winker story if you want to hear it.
Let's hear it. I don't know much about him.
So he was playing left field for the Louisville Bats, the Cincinnati Reds AAA affiliate, and he was getting heckled by some shitty fans in Norfolk at Harbor Park. And left field is a tough spot at Harbor Park. It's pretty much the most you can be heckled by fans. And so he's getting joked for his last name, real highbrow stuff here, Winker. And he's chirping back at the fans. You never see this. They usually just ignore it, straight ahead. Every once in a while, someone might get a laugh out of the player, or they'll just give a wave or look over. But Winker is arguing with these fans throughout the whole game. And late in the game, after an inning ends, Winker comes out of the dugout and he heads over to the fans by the wall. And he hands them a baseball. And I'm thinking, that's cool. No hard feelings. I thought it was like a classy gesture. And he turns and starts heading to a spot in left field. And he's looking back and he's smirking. And I noticed the fans drop the baseball. Just say you're handed something and you just pull your hands away because you're like, what is this? So, yeah, the reaction was like he handed them like a used diaper or something. So when the game ends, or the fans left early, I think, I go down there because I'm not far away. And this baseball is just sitting there. So I'm thinking hey, I'll get a free baseball out of this at worst. And I want to see what the hell's wrong with this baseball. I pick it up and it just feels weird. It's just the strangest baseball I've ever felt. I don't even know how to describe it. But my suspicion is he put it in a urinal and some of his teammates, or maybe he did this alone, and they pissed all over it. And I hate to recklessly speculate on something like this, but I have no doubts that he did something sinister to this baseball. No doubts.
I thought you were going to say he wrote something on it.
I think there was something written on it, come to think of it, too. And it was just the strangest feeling baseball. If you dropped it, it didn't even react like a baseball. It just kind of sunk. He did something weird to this baseball. I don't know what he did, but it was weird.
Well, maybe he learned that as a member of Bills Mafia because he was born in Buffalo and is apparently a big Bills fan. They've been known to do some vile things.
Yeah, he did something to this baseball. I don't know what he did. I don't know if he put it in a cow's ass or something.
They had one in the clubhouse.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's my Jesse Winker story.
Interesting.
If you want to come on the show, Jesse Winker, and tell us what you did to this baseball, you are more than welcome.
Yeah, right.
But yeah, bottom of the 7th, Meneses leads off with a double. He's now 6 for 8 in his career off Burns.
Hmm.
He would score on an Eddie Rosario single. Rosario scores on a Lipscomb single, and the Nats put this thing away. 3-0.
Yeah, this was a complete dud for the O's. Burns was not great, but the O's had 3 singles and no extra base hits, so they had no business winning this game regardless.
Yeah, there's just not much here. I did give out 3 stars. I try and find positives here. Number 3, I gave to Ryan O'Hearn and Brandon Hyde for getting ejected. That was basically the lone highlight of the evening.
Yeah, I
It's the
thought it
only
was kind of
time.
funny. O'Hearn was probably like, it was like the 9th inning, right? So he was like, I'm not hitting again this game. Who cares?
Yeah, it's the only time the Orioles looked interested in the entire game.
Right.
Number 2, I gave to Hunter Harvey. There's an alternate universe where he's the closer on this Orioles team.
Yeah.
He has this stuff to do it. The Orioles drafted him in the first round. It took a few years, but in the end, Dan Duquette was right again. Like another draft pick that Duquette hit on. I don't know. It just bugs me how people love to shit on Duquette. I think he was an awesome GM. I would have rather seen him get the chances that DL Hall got in terms of what I remember seeing of Hunter Harvey when he played for the Tides.
Right. I think the only reason he's not their closer is they have that Finnegan, and he's pretty nasty.
Hunter Harvey could be a trade candidate for the Orioles because I believe he's a free agent after the season.
Didn't they say he's like best friends with Ryan Mountcastle? They were kind of giving him shit for that.
Yeah, he still has a bunch of friends on the team. And the first star I gave to the City Connect program. Like them or not, they were on full display in this game.
That is true. Cities connected, right?
And my wife actually noticed the Nationals ones and, how they're tied to the cherry blossoms.
Mm-hmm.
And then she asked me how the Orioles uniforms are tied to Baltimore, and I didn't know what to tell her, so I just went and got some milk and left.
She said, all the colors, those are different neighborhoods. It's unique to Baltimore having different neighborhoods.
Cleveland introduced their City Connect uniforms this week. What'd you think?
They're bad, but I think they're better than Detroit's.
Do you think they're better than the Orioles ones?
Orioles with white pants? No. Orioles with black pants? Debatable.
I want to see the Orioles wear their orange jerseys with their black pants. Just for one game, at least.
Didn't they used to do that in like the 70s? I feel like I've seen pictures of Reggie Jackson or something dressed like that.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. They have those all orange ones, too, that you see in old pictures.
Maybe that's what I'm thinking of.
The Detroit City Connects. Yeah. The Detroit City Connects don't bother me too much because, they're not great. Even the good City Connect uniforms suck. But at least the Detroit ones kind of fit what the City Connect program's supposed to be, while the Cleveland ones are just like, let's just put CLE on there.
Looks like an airport abbreviation. I don't know what their airport code is, but that's what I would imagine it to be.
Yeah, they're bad. I think the City Connect program, if I remember correctly, the White Sox were the first ones to introduce their City Connect uniforms, and I think they're badass. They might be the best ones. So I think they raised the bar high for everybody. And then just with every announcement of every City Connect uniform since then, it's just all downhill after that.
Yeah, I feel like even most fans of individual teams would agree that theirs aren't good.
What's funny is seeing the fans get hype of other teams. We went through this as Orioles fans. You're like, oh, our City Connects are coming, our City Connects are coming. And then the announcement comes, you're just like, oh, fuck.
Right. Right.
Yeah, so that's it for game 1 of the Nats. So Wednesday, May 8th, we got Kyle Bradish back on the hill versus Mitchell Parker.
Yeah, this one was quite a game, I guess, is how I would sum it up.
I meant to look up Mitchell Parker, and I never did.
I've never heard of him, so I'm guessing he's young and was like a decent prospect, but I have no reason to think that otherwise. He was a 5th-round pick. He's 24 years old, so has some pedigree, it seems like.
Big, 6'4", 239.
First year in the majors. He's done very solid.
Drafted 3 times by the Cubs, Rays, and Nationals. Yeah. Welcome to the big leagues, Mitchell Parker. He's got some good numbers so far. They could be a sneaky rookie of the year. the National League Rookie of the Year thing is screwed up. I was reading about that. Jim Bowden did a stock rankings of the rookies of the year,
Mm-hmm.
and Yamamoto, someone with San Francisco, I can't remember his name. And
Is
there's
it
another.
Lee, the
He,
Korean guy?
yeah, and there's a third international player too. So there's no true rookies that have any prayer of winning Rookie of the Year in the National League.
Yeah, I feel like they should change it and make some rule where you can't play X amount of professional games somewhere, because I think it just kind of kills what the award's supposed to be about.
Yeah, 'cause Parker has a good start to his season on there, and no one's going to talk about him as Rookie of the Year.
Right. Like, I don't have any problem if there's a guy who takes a long time to make the majors and debuts when he's like 26 or something, but if you've been a pro in Asia or somewhere for 5 years, and like, you probably should be better than most of the 21-year-olds.
Yeah, if you played at the highest level of your country, that's a good way to put it.
Right.
So, top of the second, we had a missed opportunity. Kauser hits a double to left field with 2 outs. Westburg was on first. Westburg tries to score from first. He's thrown out at the plate. Close play. Hyde opts not to challenge, which I thought was the right call. A lot of people on Twitter were saying they thought he was safe. You can never tell when the Twitter folk are just being homers or whether they think that, whether they agree with, the umpire or whatever.
Yeah, I think he was out. And to be honest, the umps get a lot of shit, and deservedly so, for balls and strikes, but when you look at how many calls they actually get right on those close tags and stuff, they're pretty damn good at that.
Yeah, there was no indisputable evidence on this call. It could have gone either way on the field, and the replay would have held up whatever the call on the field was.
Probably.
So, bottom second, Lipscomb singles, bringing in Joey Meneses, who had drawn a leadoff walk, and it's 1-0 Nats.
The next scoring was the O's tying the game in the top of the fourth on a solo home run by Anthony Santander off of Parker, and it was 1-1.
Whoever gave him the Tony Taters nickname, that was great. Like Anthony Potatoes, just that's perfect. Great job, whoever did that.
Did you see the video the O's put out today for Mother's Day of him?
Mm-mm.
It was neat. They had him like recording a video message talking about his mom and how much she means to him and stuff, and he didn't know that she was there, like behind the screen, so she came out and surprised him, and it was very touching.
Yeah, that's fun. I'll have to look that up. That's on the YouTube?
I saw it on Twitter, but it's probably
Okay.
other places.
Yeah, I'll find that. Top 6, Gunnar hits his 11th home run of the season, his 25th RBI already. It's 2-1 Orioles. You just can't say anything about Gunnar Henderson that like validates what he's doing on the field, like without gushing. It's
Right.
it's insane.
And this was a weird one too. The right fielder lost it, and the way he reacted, it looked like he was under the ball, and it looked like Gunnar hit it well, but then it just went out, even though looking at the right fielder, you thought it was an easy fly ball.
Yeah, that screwed up the announcers too. They didn't know where it was either.
Right.
So top 7, Westy leadoff double. Mateo lays down a bunt to move him to third. Kauser's first pitch swinging after a pitching change. That scores Westburg. It's 3-1 Orioles.
And then the fun begins.
Yeah,
Bottom
Craig
9.
Kimbrel time.
Craig Kimbrel comes in to try to get the save. Gets the first 2 outs pretty quickly. Then Eddie Rosario hits a solo home run, and all of a sudden it's 3-2, and you're kind of thinking, here we go again.
Yeah, his first pitch to Meneses almost broke his face. And then he got the next 2 outs right away, 6 pitches. And yeah, I don't know. Full-blown meltdown after back-to-back walks, and Hyde went out and got him and brought in Keegan Aiken, who threw a wild pitch that scored C.J. Abrams, and the Nats tied it up at 3.
Yeah. I mean, at this point, I want to say that was surprising, but I don't think anybody really was surprised.
No, yeah. Yeah, we'll talk about Kimbrel after the game, I guess. So, top 11, the Ghost Runners on. 1 out, Hunter Harvey's in, and Mountcastle goes deep for the 6th time this season, make it 5-4 O's.
It was 5-3 then.
Oh.
even bigger lead, which you thought, all right, they got this one wrapped up finally. And turns out, no, because in the bottom of the 11th, with Albert Suarez on the mound, get the first batter. The Ghost Runner moved to third. Eddie Rosario then walked, and Ildemaro Vargas hits a ground rule double, scoring Joey Meneses, and it was 5-4 with runners on second and third.
And then Young hits a sac fly to McKenna in right field. Rosario beats a throw home, and it's tied up at 5. So right back where we started.
So here we go into the 12th. Jordan Westburg is the Ghost Runner on second. Jorge Mateo leads off with a single, scoring Westburg. Mateo gets all the way to third base on an error, and that brought up Colton Cowser with a 6-5 lead.
I don't have anything noted for Cowser, but Mateo is a menace on the base paths.
Oh, yeah. No, he's exciting. The reason you don't have anything for Cowser is because with Cowser at the plate, there was a wild pitch, and Mateo scored, making it 7-5.
Okay, yeah. So then we go to the bottom of the 12th. The Nats pick up a run on a leadoff double. Jacob Webb then strikes out Nick Senzel. He gets Jesse Winker, old pissball. That's what we'll start calling him. And Joey Meneses to fly out, stranding a runner in scoring position. Orioles win 7-6. But there are questions about Craig Kimbrel.
Yes, absolutely. And that was a game that seemed like the O's could have won a couple times before they did. They could have lost it a couple times before they did. It was after the top half of the ninth. It was just kind of a crapshoot, it seemed like.
I want to talk about the Ghost Runner for a second. I don't hate it as much as other people do, but I do understand why people hate it. Like, I could never defend it. But it is funny to me that it defeats its own purpose a lot of times because the runners end up scoring. So you end up having multiple extra innings because the runners score so easily, where you just totally defeated the purpose of shortening the game. You actually lengthened it sometimes just because the runs keep scoring.
So I see what you're saying. So like instead of each team scoring 0, they each get 1, and it just keeps going.
Maybe in the 10th you do traditional baseball. The 11th you do runner on first. The 12th you do runner on second. I don't think you put a runner on third. That'd be ridiculous. So just from the 12th on, runner at second.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I don't hate it. I think your idea sounds good, but I don't hate the Ghost Runner on second. I frankly enjoy the games ending quicker. I don't really love sitting there and watching like 6 more innings, especially because it's stressful when it's extra innings.
Yeah, it's always stressful. And I always forget there's a runner on second. So when the game starts, I see someone there. I'm like, how the fuck do you get on second? Oh, okay.
Right. Like leadoff double already.
But yeah, Craig Kimbrel, I don't think they'll do anything drastic. He's had some better performances since this. This was like giant red flashing lights after this game. He's calmed that down a little bit. I don't think they'll do anything drastic. Only 5 or 6 weeks into a $13 million contract. But the roster is tight, and he's not in the future plans. So he's only cost you money at this point. They never spent any I know baseball draft capital isn't a thing, but they never spent any prospects or anything on him.
Mm-hmm.
The beauty of his contract was always the short term on it. And we're at a point with the Orioles roster where anytime someone is removed from it, it's going to be someone surprising getting removed from the roster to add someone to it. So I don't think he's 100% safe, but I don't think he's going anywhere anytime soon either.
Yeah, I would agree. I mean, worst case, I guess not worst case, but right now, kind of worst case is you take him out of the closer role and he becomes just a setup man or something. But even so, you don't really want a $13 million setup man, but it's kind of a sunk cost at this point. But if he can't get outs and he's just allowing runs, then yeah, you don't really want a guy like that on the roster, no matter what their pedigree is or how much they make.
Yeah, and at this point, it's just money. Like, the money has already been allocated. You already know you spent it. If he keeps sucking, which I don't think he will, but if he does keep sucking, now you're making 2 mistakes because you already paid him. That was mistake number 1. And number 2 is you keep rolling him out there and he keeps blowing games.
Yeah, I was kind of hoping that he'd come back from that back tightness and figure it out, but it might be time for a kind of fake injury and let him take a week or 2 off and go down to Norfolk and pitch a few innings and just see if he can right himself.
Yeah, at this point in the week, I was with you here because you had the excuse of the back injury. And, he misses a week or two. You send him down to Norfolk for some rehab. And if he can't get out of AAA, then your answer is made for you. I know people say, "Oh, rehab starts don't matter." That shit matters. If Craig Kimbrel goes down there and he can't get AAA hitters out, that's a telling sign that he might be washed.
Mm-hmm.
But Hyde said after the game that he's still the closer, but he kind of had to say that, especially with an off day the next day. That would have just ate up all the news.
Right. Yeah, managers sometimes can't be super honest because it would just cause a shitstorm, like you said.
So I guess that's it. They're going to have to do something with Grayson returning, and Tyler Wells, there's been no good news on him. The last word is he still isn't throwing.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, I haven't heard a thing about him either throwing at all or being hurt worse than they thought. It's just like he doesn't really seem to be progressing.
I have serious questions about his viability. Because last year he just fell off the planet and he came back at the end, but it was too little too late. And now this year, just same difference almost.
Right. You'd think maybe he has a sprained UCL or something.
Yeah, that's what it seems like. You just
the
waiting
injury
for
we thought would have done in Bradish for the year.
But yeah, I don't know. What do you think they do? How do they get Grayson back on this roster?
I mean, it's hard to not say Bauman. He was good in the last outing.
I don't have an answer. I really don't.
I think fake injury for Kimbrel. Just do it up.
That would have worked before he had these last two appearances, though. He kind of erased that because it seems like he does not want to go on the injured list, or they might have asked him.
I mean, you could kind of force him. I don't know the inner workings. I'm just bullshitting, but it seems like fake injuries are a thing in all sports.
I don't know if they are, though, because that would be a huge union issue. And then if say you force Kimbrel to go on the injured list and he didn't feel like he was injured and he could raise a stink through the Players Association, the Mets GM just resigned over that and they got fined a bunch of stuff.
No, you're right. You're right.
But yeah, I don't know how they get Grayson on this roster. Aiken has an option.
He's not going down, I don't think.
I don't want to see him go down. He's my favorite player all of a sudden. I'm just kidding, but he's come a long way in my eyes for sure.
Right.
Yeah, Dylan Tate too. Dylan Tate's going to get just stuck at Norfolk all season, barring
you're right.
injuries.
I kind of forgot about him. It hasn't even been that long. When you brought him up, I was like, oh yeah, where is that guy?
Yeah, he's gone. I'll see him this week. If I'm seeing you play in person, something went wrong for you somewhere. Because
Right.
I don't drive up to Baltimore.
Whether you're Dylan Tate or Jackson Holiday, something went wrong.
Right, yes, exactly. Or Hessen Kerstad sometime this week.
Right.
The notes, so the O's won this game. That means the stupid sweep streak is still alive. Look, the streak is good because it means the O's are winning, but it's hollow. It's hollow to me.
Until
I put
I
out
get
a poll.
to 2,632, I'm not going to care.
I put out a poll, and a lot of Orioles fans still like hearing about the streak. So, people like being lied to.
Right.
39% said yes, they think the streak is, not real at this point, and 61% said no.
Uh-huh. I don't care. It's, like you said, once they got swept in the playoffs, none of that matters.
No stars for this game. It was too long and too messy.
That's fine.
Thursday was an off day. You got a Diamondbacks preview?
Yes, I do. So the defending National League champions were 18-20 entering this series, third in the NL West. They were 6th in runs scored per game, but 21st in runs allowed. Had solid offensive years from a few guys led by Ketel Marte and Christian Walker, but Corbin Carroll was struggling as he entered the series with a 206 average and a 570 OPS. And of course, Zach Gallen was having a very solid season, as he often does, but the rest of the starters and their bullpen, which is 24th in bullpen ERA before the series, were not doing great.
Corbin Carroll's struggles makes Gunnar Henderson's emergence that much more impressive.
Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, they were both equally good. I mean, you could even say Carroll might have been a little better last year, and he's definitely had a hard time putting that back together.
Yeah, sophomore slump. Bottom second, back-to-back leadoff singles for Mountcastle and Santander. Westburg doubles in Mountcastle to put the Orioles on the board 1-0. And then Santander scores on Mullins' ground out 2-0. I saw a bunch of people calling Westburg a silent assassin on social media. We called him that like 3-4 weeks ago, probably.
Yeah, I was gonna say we've been saying that for a while.
I'd hate to someone like listen to an old episode and think we stole that. Like, no, this we saw this coming.
Check the receipts.
Yeah, we got post dates on our episodes.
Right. Top of the third. Speaking of Ketel Marte, he hit a solo homer off Cole Irvin, and it was 2-1 O's.
Yeah, that extended his hitting streak to 11 days. I like watching that guy play. There's like one guy every series from the other team. I'm like, that dude's cool. And it's Ketel Marte for the Diamondbacks.
He's a guy I think has been a pretty solid player for a while, but playing for Arizona, you don't really hear about him.
Yeah, nobody cared until last year.
Right.
Bottom five, Gunnar draws a 2-out walk. Adley and O'Hearn hit back-to-back singles, scoring Henderson, so it's 3-1 Orioles.
Then in the top of the six, there were runners on first and second with 2 outs, and Eugenio Suarez singled to score Lourdes Gurriel, and it was 3-2 O's.
Bottom seven, Mateo infield single. He scores on an RBI double from Gunnar Henderson, make it 4-2 O's.
And that is how the game ended.
Yeah, top nine, Cano got the save. I was a little surprised to see him in the ninth.
I think it depends. I think with Cano and Coulomb, if you're assuming Kimbrel won't be getting the save chances, I think you just throw out whoever is the better matchup with righties or lefties coming up.
Do you think Kimbrel gets the save chances back after June 1st?
What's that, like?
So about
2.5 weeks?
Yeah. Is that too soon?
I guess it would depend how he's doing, right? I don't think you would force him into that role if he's not pitching well, but if he's a setup man and starts getting outs and throwing strikes, and maybe.
Because I think they want him in that role. And I think he wants to be in that role.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess I'm saying I think they would force him. But you're right. He has to pitch well to be forced back in there.
Right. I mean, we were joking earlier about forcing him to fake an injury, and that's something you can't really do, but you're not forced to put a pitcher or any player in the game in a certain situation. Like, he clearly signed with the O's because he was going to be the closer, because Bautista's out, but if he's not playing well, you got to do what's best for the team.
I wonder who they were negotiating against, because he got a team option, so that tells me the Orioles were negotiating against another team for his services. There's no way they exercise that option now. Even if he is lights out from here on out, there's no way.
Right.
Because they didn't even exercise Jordan Lyles' option. They didn't bring back Odor. They didn't bring back Frazier. We'll see if McCann comes back. They didn't bring back Hicks. These older guys, they're just, wham, bam, thank you, ma'am, in them.
Yeah, I don't know enough about other teams' closer situations to have any good idea of who that might have been.
Closers don't last as long as they used to either.
Yeah. It does seem there's not as many continuously dominant closers these days. I think you're right. But I also think that might be a product of just pitchers in general being better. So when they start to struggle, you have a shorter leash because there's a setup man who throws 98 instead of 100. You throw him in there,
That's a good point. And then, yeah, Rivera's record might be unbreakable, at least for a long time.
Oh, I think it probably is unbreakable.
Yeah, because he's like 200 or something ahead of Trevor Hoffman. It's something stupid. I don't know the exact number.
Right. I mean, the combination of being completely dominant and also being on awesome teams for most of his career who just won a lot, which means you got a lot more save chances. That's tough to replicate.
Yeah. Rivera was definitely in the right spot for that. So notes here: this loss snapped the Diamondbacks' 4-game winning streak, so they were starting to turn their season around, to match their preseason hype. I got 3 stars. Number 1 star, David Rubenstein. He was the guest Mr. Splash, Ruben Splash.
I liked that. He had his own custom. Was it a custom jacket, or was that just a jersey he had over his jacket?
I think it was a jersey, but you never know with him. He can buy whatever he wants.
That is true, almost literally.
He gave everyone in the bird bath gift cards and hats. You give me a hat, I'll be your best friend for life.
Do you know how much those gift cards were for? I saw that and I was curious. Like
$20, I think I saw.
Okay.
Which doesn't get you very far in 2024. It might cover your parking.
Yeah, it's still something. 20 times, you have to think there's like a couple hundred people in that section.
Rubenstein is literally becoming Dave from Wendy's.
That reminds me of how in DC there used to be a horrible intersection with a Wendy's just like on an island in the middle, and it was called Dave Thomas Circle because of that.
Is it still there?
Last I heard, they eminent domained the Wendy's, and they're gonna like reconfigure the whole intersection because it was a nightmare. You just have cars like crawling around this Wendy's on an island, and it took forever. But yeah, people just called it Dave Thomas Circle.
I saw this picture, I think it was on like Reddit, where they tried eminent domaining this guy's house and he refused to sell forever. Or whatever it was. And so basically like they built like a downtown city around his house. It looks insane.
Yeah,
and of course
I've seen
he's
pictures
mad.
like that.
Yeah, but like you were warned.
But I mean, I would think that's probably like other countries that actually allow you to refuse and they build around you. I feel like in the States they would just be like, sorry.
Yeah, they'll just bulldoze you with you in it.
Right. We can make money. We don't care.
Number 2, Cole Irvin, another gem. He said after the game, "This is probably the best I felt in my career." I believe him.
Yeah, he's down to a 2.9 ERA now.
Like if the playoffs started tomorrow, he should be the game 2 starter. That's not fair to Bradish because he hasn't pitched enough, but like results per where we are now in the season.
Yeah, I mean, it would be between him, Bradish, and Grayson for those 2 spots behind Burns, right?
Yeah, Grayson is hurt, and Bradish is, unproven in 2024.
Right.
So, number 3, I gave it to the Apple TV Plus broadcast. I do this every time it's on. I love this shit.
I know you do.
Look, would I prefer watching the Masson broadcast with my buddies KB, Mel, Jim, and Ben? But as a national broadcaster, Apple is by far the best. And I feel like everybody who says they hate the broadcast is just because they don't want to pay for the access to it.
Right, they're just mad. Yeah, I mean, we just happen to have Apple TV. Otherwise, I didn't get it to watch the baseball games. And I frankly don't listen to the announcers when it's on other channels. I'll just have it muted or something. But as far as visually, I think it's good.
Yeah, I watch it on MLB TV after they unlock, but I would pay for it if I really wanted to watch the game in real time that night.
When they have a problem. Such great kids shows as Duck and Goose and Frog and Toad that my kids love, you gotta have Apple TV.
There's a Michael J. Fox Apple TV Plus documentary I want to watch, and I believe they're coming out with a Steve Martin one I really want to watch. I had Apple TV Plus.
My wife was watching that the other day, the Steve Martin one.
Okay, so it's out already?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'll have to turn it on just for that and then immediately cancel. We had Apple TV Plus for like a free year after we got new iPhones, and I watched that Justin Timberlake movie, Palmer. That was pretty good.
I don't think I've heard of that.
Yeah, check it out. He's like a...
Does he play Jim Palmer?
He does. He's Jim Palmer. All he does is yell at clouds now.
Follows his career through multiple decades.
He invests in bad shampoo products.
With British guys.
That's the whole movie. Yeah. Someone's going to get mad at me for making fun of that. Because no one else talks about it.
I mean, he talked about it himself. I mean, it should be fair game if they brought it to light. It's not like we dug it up.
Yeah, but I mean, no one since then. It's just kind of become like unmentionable.
Right.
And he is a god, and I do love him. I think he's a great broadcaster.
Yeah, I agree.
So sometimes I'll watch old games and he's a broadcaster on them. He's so sharp. He's just so sharp.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, game 40, Saturday night, Diamondbacks. I put Diamondbacks at Nats. That's not right. Diamondbacks at Orioles. Ryan Nelson versus John Means. Kerstad was in left field, Cowser was in center, and Mullins had the day off.
Yeah, and I think deservedly so. I looked up Mullins' numbers, and since his average peaked at 269, he had gone 5 for 52. So the day off, I think, was a good idea.
With Hayes coming back, Mullins should start getting the Kimbrel treatment.
What does that mean if you're a position player?
So with his case, he has a lot of competition in the outfield, even with McKenna to some extent. I don't know. You just use him as a pinch runner, a pinch hitter, give him maybe 2 starts, defensive replacement, 2 starts a week. Like, I don't know. He doesn't have shit locked down at this point, if you ask me.
The only thing I would say to that is I think a relief pitcher like Kimbrel, it's easier to get back on track if you're not playing every day because you're kind of used to that. Whereas I think a player who's used to playing every day, if he's not, I don't know how he ever gets back into his groove, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't know. Cowser still has a lot to prove, too, especially in the outfield.
Yeah, I mean, I don't hate what he's done defensively, aside from throwing, which I guess matters, but he hasn't really hit since that great month he had.
Cowser, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm surprised to see how he didn't keep it going. Like, his average dropped like 200 points in a month.
Right.
But bottom of the second, Mountcastle leads off with a double on an 0-2 count. Mountcastle's last 3 games, he's 5 for 14, which is good for 357 with a home run and 2 RBI.
Yeah, he's been very good. Oh, go ahead.
I was going to say Nelson then gets the next 2 outs, but he can't get Jordan Westburg, who hits his own double to get the Orioles started up 1-0.
Yeah, I was going to say Mountcastle's been very good lately, and so is Jordan Westburg, who drove him in.
Yeah, they're both just extremely solid.
Right. In the top of the third, after a triple by Kevin Newman, Ketel Marte again hits a home run off John Means, and it is 2-1 D-backs.
Bottom 3, Mateo singles to lead off. Gunnar is swinging 2-0 in singles. Adley's up. He's cooled off a little bit this week. He hits a double play as Mateo makes it to third with 2 outs and O'Hearn up. Ryan RBI comes through as Mateo comes in to tie things up at 2.
Next scoring came in the top of the 5th. With 1 out, Blaze Alexander singled, Kevin Newman doubled. Ketel Marte was hit by a pitch, so the bases were loaded for Corbin Carroll, who hit a sac fly and scored Alexander to tie the game at 2.
And then Gurriel brings in Newman to make it 4-2 Diamondbacks. Gurriel had been 0 for 9 in his career versus Means, but he's hitting over 360 all time at Camden Yards. So that's it for Means. That brings in Bauman with 2 on and 2 out. And at this point, I was like, well, how many inherited runners is Bauman going to allow?
Yeah, turns out 0 that inning. He got out of it, which was nice to see.
Bottom 5, Gunnar homers, 12th of the year, 4-3 Arizona.
And there was no other scoring until the bottom of the 8th. With 2 outs, Santander came up. Tony Taters hits a home run, solo shot, and makes it 4-4.
Yeah, he just stuck his bat out there, reached straight away center field. That was a big time hit.
Yeah, that pitch was well off the plate. I was surprised that got out.
They showed a stat against fastballs this season. Tony is hitting only 169 while slugging 323.
But isn't he raking against changeups? Wasn't that the other
his
side
numbers, of it? His numbers are all over the place. So yeah, once he puts it together in the next, I'm going to say 2 weeks, we're not talking about Santander struggles anymore.
Well, maybe, I don't know when that Mother's Day video was shot. Maybe his mom's in town. He'll start to relax a little bit and put it together.
She can tell him, hey, you've had your elbow down all season. You got to get that up.
Give him some tips.
I bet these moms do know their sons play like little intricacies. How do you say that?
Intricacies?
Intricacies, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you got to think that nobody's watched them more than their own family throughout their career.
Yeah. Bottom 9, missed opportunity here with Paul Sewald in. Westburg infield single. He steals second after a Mullins strikeout. Mateo pops up. The D-backs wisely intentionally walk Gunner. This is probably going to start happening more and more to Gunner. Adley would line out with a full count to end the inning.
Yeah, I think Adley hit that ball well. It was just right at the guy.
Yeah, he had another one like that today, I think. Or, yeah, this was last night. He homered today. Did you see his home run today?
I actually didn't. I had turned it off. Between the score and the rain delay, I gave up.
Yeah, he had like one knee on the ground.
Okay.
We're not going to talk about today's game
Who
too
used to do
much.
that? I picture Adrian Beltre doing that.
Yes,
I feel like he used to do that a lot.
That's exactly who he looked like. So where are we at here? Bottom 10, another missed opportunity. Jarvis is in to pitch. McKenna's pinch running for Adley on second as a ghost runner. O'Hearn gets intentionally walked. Santander walks, so bases loaded, one out for Cowser, and he just hit into a debilitating double play.
Yeah, he was angry. Cowser seems like a pretty chill guy, but he slammed his helmet down on the ground after that. I mean, I was angry too. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah, that was bad. There's just some times where you're watching and you're just like, the worst possible thing happened.
Yeah, exactly. That's baseball, though.
Top 11, Kimbrel's in. So you're thinking they're going to take it easy with Kimbrel, but he's called into duty. He gets the first out, but Carroll goes to third on the fly out. Kimbrel then hits Christian Walker with a pitch. So, here we go. Runners on the corners, one out. And Kimbrel gets a big strikeout looking. This is where he makes his money on strikeouts like this. And
right.
Then
especially with those runners on base already, the strikeouts are king in extra innings.
Yeah, and Suarez then grounds out to end the inning. There's some troubling numbers with Kimbrel. They showed it like every year, like the past 4 years, he's lost like a half a mile per hour on his fastball every year. So now it's down 2 from where it was in 2020.
Yeah, I mean, that's natural. That happens. Unless you're Barry Bonds, you don't get better when you get older, so.
And the bottom of the 11th, Jarvis tries to pick off Cowser on second base before throwing a pitch. And Westburg's up. First pitch swing, a ball game. Second walk-off of the season for Westburg. Someone had a good point I saw on Twitter that they were surprised the Diamondbacks didn't intentionally walk Westburg with, I think it was Mullins and Mateo coming up next. And they had already intentionally walked Gunner and O'Hearn in the previous 2 innings. The silent assassin, they didn't think to worry about him.
Yeah, I mean, that is a good point because in the bottom half of the inning with a tie game, the only run that matters is the first one. So you might as well put the guy on and make for an easier double play.
Yeah, the away team in every extra inning game might as well just walk the first batter every time.
They should. If it's a tie game, absolutely. That might be a new strategy we start seeing.
Yeah.
Or not, because they clearly haven't started doing that and they're smarter than us. So there's got to be a reason.
I know Mike Elias listens to this, so hey, try that out.
Yeah, it was nice to see them get a win, though. I liked how Westburg just kind of stuck the bat out. It was perfectly placed. I think Kevin Brown said you couldn't have placed it better, and Hauser's got good speed, so he was able to score and get the victory in a game where John Means wasn't very good. So they had, a rough start and were able to overcome it, which was good to see.
Yeah, as much as we all loved John Means' performance last week, it pretty much, I was thinking of this afterward. I meant to say this on the episode and I forgot. John Means' first start back, that was pretty much the performance of the year, I think, up until now. But on the flip side of that, he still has a lot to prove.
Yeah. Everyone knows you're not going to do what he did the first outing every time. And this is hopefully just a hiccup and returns to form next time. But a win's a win.
I did give 3 stars here. Number 3, I gave it to Mother Nature. The rain held out until the final pitch. Then the grounds crew was pulling the tarp on the field during Westburg's post-game interview.
Good timing.
Number 2, I gave it to the bullpen. With Means coming up short, the bullpen picked up the slack. 6 1/3, 1 hit, 0 runs, 3 strikeouts, 84 pitches, 53 strikes. The Orioles are 5th in the American League with a .211 batting average against in the bullpen.
That's pretty solid. I mean, 5th in the American League means you could be like, I don't know, 10th in the majors, but that's still decent, especially knowing that they haven't had Batista all year.
Yeah. And with Kimbrel struggles.
True.
Because Kimbrel and Bauman, I would say, have been the 2 worst in the bullpen. And I don't know, Senel Perez today wasn't much better either.
Right.
Number 1 star, Westburg for the walk-off, 4 for 5, 2 RBI. He stole a base. You had called for a nickname on the Twitter account for the Westburg Power Alleys, and Jim Palmer gave you an assist.
What did he call it?
Westburg Avenue.
Oh, okay. I saw that the official Twitter Orioles said that. I didn't realize that was something Palmer said.
Yeah, it was right after you tweeted it. Palmer said it on the broadcast. That's going to be our episode title, Westburg Avenue.
I mean, he does. He's got that left center gap on lockdown. I think earlier in the year, I want to say he hit a ground ball that made it to the wall out there. Like, he just crushes it out there.
I would say, what are your biggest surprises so far on this season?
Oh, geez. I'd say Cole Irvin.
Yeah.
I am honestly surprised at how well Henderson is doing. Not because I didn't think he would, but he's like one of the best in the majors right now.
That's fair. I remember I had said during the preseason, I had told you he could hit 330, and I don't know how surprised I'd be. So I don't know if I can count him.
Yeah, no, you're right. Those would be my 2, but I see where you're going with this.
Yeah, I would have said Westburg and Mateo, though.
Yeah, true. Mateo, too.
Yeah, he's playing second base every day. I was totally wrong because Gunnar is a highlight reel at shortstop. And I wasn't saying pull Gunnar off shortstop. I was just saying put him at third 1 day a week. But I get it why you don't want to. He's ridiculous over there. He made 2 more plays this weekend that were just jaw-dropping.
Right. No, their defense today wasn't good, but generally it's been very good. And that's a part of winning games for sure.
Yeah, especially with how bad teams are playing against them defensively.
Yeah, that can be the difference.
Kimbrel picked up the win in this game. He's only gone over 4 wins 4 other times in his 15-year career. He won 8 last year with the Phillies. So I thought that was interesting. This was my own stat I did on my own.
That just reminds me of how Bauman had like 10 wins last year. So tough to say that for relievers, but I get what you're saying.
Yeah, it's more interesting than like impressive.
Right.
Jim Palmer did that today. He brought up after Bauman's performance, not today, yesterday, after he was like, "Oh, he had 10 wins last year for a reason." I'm thinking, yeah, 5 of those were probably his own fault because he allowed hitter runner to score, and then the Orioles scored to retake the lead.
Right. Yeah, the reason is that they happened to hit when he was pitching in the game, right?
Then the 26-12 start after this game ties 1969 and 1970 for their best start in 38 games in team history.
That's crazy to think about. Especially even last year, they didn't start that well.
Yeah, I don't know if I'll ever be used to it, to be honest. It'll be like 3 years in, like when we start taking winning for granted and we become dicks as Orioles fans, turn into just insufferable.
Right.
They get mad when we're not 30-10.
Uh-huh.
But yeah, that takes us to Sunday, game number 41, May 12th, Mother's Day. Zach Gallen versus Dean Kramer. There's not much to say about this one. It's maybe the worst game of the year for the Orioles. It's a contender, I think.
Yeah, this game was a shit show. I'd be fine if we didn't go over every time Arizona scored.
Yeah, I got nothing really. It was the Diamondbacks' first win at Camden Yards since June 17th, 2007. Zach Gallen took a no-hitter into the 5th. It was 3-1 going into the 6th, but Arizona let a weekend's worth of frustration out by scoring 6 runs off Kramer and Perez to ruin everyone's Mother's Day.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think a couple key plays that the Orioles blew were Arias getting that ground ball and just making a bad throw home when they had the easy force out. Pulled McCann's foot off the plate, so that allowed a run. They didn't get the out. And then Henderson just getting lazy on that chopper from Carroll and he took that extra beat to throw it to first, and Carroll hustled and beat it out, and they scored 4 more runs, and that would have been the third out.
Yep, I was about to say that would have ended the inning. I don't know. I just felt like a loss today made sense. The Diamondbacks are good. The previous 2 games were extremely tight. Last night's went into extra innings. Like, these 2 teams match up very well. Also, the Diamondbacks are going to be better if Eduardo Rodriguez can ever come back. That was a big signing for them. And then Jordan Montgomery, was probably slated to start slow because Scott Boras ruined his season by holding him out for 6 weeks.
What's Montgomery's deal? Has he even been pitching?
Yeah, I think he's not been great, but he hasn't been terrible. I think I saw his ERA was like 4.5 maybe.
Yeah. One thing I will say about the D-backs is I like that they have incorporated that teal color again. It's like brighter than their original, but I think for a while they just were kind of bland looking with the red and the black and that like tan. I like that they got rid of the tan and put that blue accent.
I don't know what it is. I love their uniforms and logos. I hate snakes, but I think their color palette looks great. I love how they've been like bold after their initial run of uniforms. I think it was probably like the mid to late 2000s. They started getting a little daring with their uniform. Like, there was one year they had like 20 different uniforms to pick from, like they were Oregon or something. Yeah, I just like what they've done with their look.
Yeah, I think it's cool. I mean, the original color scheme was very 90s with the purple and the green, but I like that they've brought like a little bit of that back. I think it looks neat.
So yeah, that's it for this series. Should we take a Quiz Torres?
Yeah, let's do it. Before that, though, just quick update. This week, the O's will be playing at home still, hosting Toronto for their first series of the year against the Blue Jays. And then they'll be hosting the Mariners. So 2 solid teams that won't be easy. We'll put it that way.
Yeah, the Blue Jays are down, but they're going to be talented. Tough. Yeah, John Schneider's going to cost him a game, though, for sure.
And Seattle's got nasty pitching, so I'm kind of worried about that.
I saw Alek Manoah had a good start today.
Oh, it's the first one in a while, I bet.
Yeah. So let's see here. We got the title. This one is Seconds, anyone, ? So Seconds, anyone. When given the player who holds each of these MLB records, can you correctly pick the player who is second on the list?
Oh, that's tough.
Yeah, this is like substitute teacher stuff.
Right. The worksheet they give the kids.
Yeah, so 20 questions. We got 5 minutes on the clock.
All right.
I'm going to press play here. Pete Rose holds the record for most career games played by a batter. What player has played the second most career games? Yastrzemski, Henderson, Ty Cobb, or Hank Aaron?
Ooh.
I think it's Ricky Henderson.
That was my first inclination, too.
All right, so let's do that. Wrong. Carl Yastrzemski.
Oh, okay. And did he play for the Red Sox his entire career?
Yes.
That's impressive.
Tris Speaker holds the record for most career doubles. What player has the second most career doubles? Musial, Cobb, Pujols, or Pete Rose?
I would say Musial.
Okay, I was going to rule out Rose. All right, well, it was Pete Rose.
Was it?
Sam Crawford. This is a problem because I don't know who that is.
Holds the record. Name. I think that guy played like 110 years ago.
It's Cutter Crawford's great-grandfather.
Carl Crawford? Any relation?
Yeah, Sam Crawford holds the record for most career triples. What player has the second most career triples? Willie Wilson, Willie Mays, Ty Cobb, or Honus Wagner? I think this is Willie Wilson.
Really?
Yeah, the former Royals.
I was going to guess Cobb, but if you have a conviction, then roll with it.
Yeah, I think I remember this. No, it's Ty Cobb.
I looked up Sam Crawford. His final major league season was 1917. So they're probably just like no fences or something. Cy
Young holds the record for most career wins. What player has the second most career wins? Chrissy Mathewson, Pete Alexander, Pud Galvin, or Walter Johnson?
Oh, God.
I want to say Johnson.
I want to say Johnson, too.
Hey, we got one.
Hey.
3:10 left. Barry Bonds holds the record for most career walks by a batter. What player has the second most career walks? Ruth, Ted Williams, Henderson, and Morgan. This is Ruth.
I think. Oh, I was gonna say Ricky.
Okay, let's do it. Yep.
All right.
Hank Aaron holds the record for most career runs batted in. What player has the second most career RBI? A-Rod, Pujols, Babe Ruth, or Cap Anson?
Ooh. Pujols has got to be up there.
You think? I feel like I would know that. I don't know, though. Like, that's the problem with this quiz, though. Who remembers the second of anything?
I hope it's not Cap Anson. I've heard that name. Don't know anything about him.
All right. What do you say, Pujols?
Sure. I don't know.
I did it. It's Babe Ruth.
Damn it.
Cy Young holds the record for most career innings pitched. What player has the second most innings pitched? Walter Johnson, Pud Galvin, Nolan Ryan, or Phil Niekro?
Ooh. I was just looking at Phil Niekro the other day.
All right. I'm going to say Nolan Ryan.
Okay.
Nope. Pud Galvin.
Pud Galvin. Okay.
Nolan Ryan holds the record for most career strikeouts by a pitcher. What player has the second most career strikeouts? Blyleven, Clemens, Randy Johnson, or Carlton?
Ooh. I want to say Clemens.
Nope. Randy Johnson.
Oh, damn.
Walter Johnson holds the record for most career shutouts. What player has the second most shutouts? Eddie Plank, Pete Alexander, Cy Young, or Christy Mathewson?
I'll let you guess this one. I'll
say
clue.
Mathewson. Nope, Pete Alexander. Jamie Moyer holds the record for most career home runs allowed. What player has the second most home runs allowed? Robin Roberts, Phil Niekro, Fergie Jenkins, or Don Sutton? I'm going to say Niekro.
Yeah, I can see that.
Nope, Robin Roberts, friend of the show. 1 minute left, 10 questions. Ed Walsh holds the record for the lowest career ERA. What player is the second lowest ERA? Cy Young, Smokey Joe Wood, Rivera, or Addie Joss? Should I just press a button?
I guess Smokey Joe Wood. That sounds fun.
Nope, Addie Joss.
Damn.
Ricky Henderson holds the record for most career runs scored. What player is the second most career runs scored? Hank Aaron, Barry Bonds, Babe Ruth, Ty Cobb.
Aaron.
Ty Cobb. Okay. Oh, it was Ty Cobb.
Damn.
Ted Williams holds the record for highest career on base percentage. What player has the second highest career OBP? Ruth, Mantle, Bonds, Cobb. I gotta say Bonds.
Yeah, I think Ruth or Bonds.
Oh, it's Ruth. 20 seconds left. We're not going to make it through this one. Reggie Jackson holds the record for most career strikeouts by a batter. What player is the second most career strikeouts? Sosa, Tomei, Rodriguez, or Dunn? I believe this is Tomei.
That makes sense. He played forever and was a big slugger.
Yep, Tomei. We're going to run out of time here. Maybe we can pick it up. So we got 3 out of 20. I got to remember
not
this
quite
question.
20. 3 out of 15, right?
Okay.
Hoffman. Right?
Yeah. So we tanked, no matter how we break it down. I was like...
Yeah. I mean, we knew that one would be hard. Nobody remembers second place.
Yeah. First loser. If you ain't first or last.
Right. I'm looking up Sam Crawford. He was born in Wahoo, Nebraska. That's a fun name.
Yeah, that is fun.
Anyways,
so
that was hard.
Yeah, that was hard. That was debilitating. Should we do another one and edit that out?
It's up to you.
No,
I don't care.
Just kidding.
A little dose of humility at the end is never a bad thing.
Right. So we have a programming note. We might miss next week. We might not. We might do something different. We haven't figured it out yet. But you can check out birdlandsports.com. That's really all I got. If we don't do anything and you really miss us, I have another podcast. What You Talking About, Willis? Where me and a friend review Bruce Willis movies. Last week we did G.I. Joe Retaliation. This week we got Tears of the Sun coming out. So, yeah, we have fun over there. Tears of the Sun is very depressing.
Yeah, there's a time and place for every movie. As long as you know going in that it's going to be depressing, then I think it's good to get that note beforehand.
Yeah, it was a good movie. It's just we'll probably never watch it again.
There you go.
And I probably wouldn't recommend it to anybody.
All right. Tears of the Sun, everyone.
Yeah. So, yeah, thanks for listening, everybody.
Yep. Happy Mother's Day. Happy birthday to my dad.
Yeah, go O's.
Go O's.